My Omega nephew ran away from his arranged marriage, and the family forced me to take his place. On the eve of the wedding, I overheard the groom complaining, "Who wants to marry a beta man 8 years older than himself?" So, I made a deal with him. Once my nephew comes back, we'd get a divorce. 2 years later, my nephew really did return. I signed the papers, took off my ring, packed my bags, and disappeared. But Nathan went crazy looking for me. 01. Who wants to marry a beta man 8 years older than himself? I had just raised my hand to knock when I heard that line from inside the room. The voice was filled with obvious disgust and disdain. Then another, slightly older man responded, "Your fiancé ran off. Like it or not, you still have to marry Hunter. He may be a beta, but he's polite, composed. A college professor, his temperament is no less refined than any Omegas. Show some respect when you meet him." My father and uncle were standing beside me, and after hearing that, they both looked awkward and embarrassed. I, on the other hand, smiled indifferently and pushed up my glasses. Knock, knock. I rapped on the door, then opened it and walked in. The father and son standing in the room were slightly stunned. I greeted them with a warm smile. "Long time no see." "Ah, Hunter, you're finally here." Everyone exchanged pleasantries like nothing had happened. "Mr. Lee introduced us. This is my son, Nathan. Please take good care of each other." I slowly shifted my gaze toward the man who was about to become my husband. Nathan, 24 years old. He looked to be about 190 centimeters tall, dressed in a pinstripe suit with a black shirt underneath. His broad shoulders and trim waist hinted at the strength beneath the fine fabric. His features were flawless, sharp jawline, defined brows, deep-set eyes. The air around him was charged with pheromones. No wonder he was an S+ ranked alpha. And no wonder he didn't want anything to do with an older beta like me. I wasn't bothered at all by what I had just overheard. I gave him a friendly smile and reached out my hand. "Nice to meet you." Nathan hesitated for a moment, then pressed his lips together and shook my hand. That was the first time we met. A few days later, Nathan and I officially registered our marriage and held a grand wedding. The ceremony had originally been arranged for my nephew, Connor, but he bailed at the last minute, choosing to chase his dream instead. News of the arranged marriage between our families had already spread across the business world. There was no turning back. To protect the family's reputation, my grandfather and uncle stepped in and asked me to marry Nathan in Connor's place, simply because I was the only other unmarried adult in the family. Right after the wedding, Nathan took out 2 copies of a contract and, with a serious expression, said to me, "Let's be clear, you're not my type. My dad said if I can find Connor, I can switch partners. So until then, let's lay down some ground rules. Don't even think about making this marriage real, and stay out of my personal life." I responded calmly, "Fine by me. That's exactly what I want too." After all, I never wanted to marry him in the first place. Reaching an agreement was ideal. The contract stated clearly, as soon as Connor returns, I must agree to a divorce with no conditions. Nathan, in turn, would provide financial compensation. "Not bad. You're refreshingly straightforward," Nathan said with satisfaction. He signed his name and pressed his fingerprint first. "I've signed it. You hold on to the copy." And with that, he left the bridal suite without even looking back. 2 years later, half awake, I felt something rough and prickly brushing against my lips and cheek. I struggled to open my eyes. What I saw was Nathan's annoyingly handsome face, rubbing his stubbly chin against me while one of his hands slipped into my pajamas, touching me with practiced ease. "Get up. Breakfast is ready." I groaned and pulled his hand away, turning over to go back to sleep. Nathan leaned over me with a teasing grin. "Still not getting up? Want me to encourage you a little?" "Half asleep," I mumbled. "Stop bothering me. I just need a little more sleep." I'd been sorting through academic papers for the past few days, staying up late every night. Nathan wouldn't let it go. "Do you know how many days it's been since you paid any attention to me? You promised you'd go watch the race with me today. Get up, or I'll pull your pants down." 02. I quickly grabbed Nathan's hand as he tried to tug at my waistband. All right. I'm getting up. Let go. If I let him have his way, I wouldn't get anything else done today. Nathan gently nipped my earlobe, not too hard, but enough to make a point, blowing a warm breath against my ear. He murmured, "Fine, I'll let you go for now, but you owe me tonight." He half-dragged, half-carried me into the bathroom. Just like always, he had already filled a cup with mouthwash and squeezed the toothpaste for me. "Hurry up. I'll go reheat the pancakes." With that, he dashed off to the kitchen. I stood in front of the mirror, brushing my teeth, a little dazed as I thought back over the past 2 years. When we first got married, Nathan and I couldn't stand the sight of each other. Who would have thought we'd end up like this, so tangled up and close? It all started about 1.5 years ago. We had gone to Jiang City for his grandfather's 70th birthday celebration. That night, Nathan had a few drinks, which triggered his susceptibility phase. Ignoring all of my resistance, he pinned me down. He kept me in bed for 2 whole days. I could barely walk afterward. When he finally sobered up, he showed zero remorse. On the contrary, he seemed pretty pleased with himself. He even said he hadn't expected things between us to feel that good. I was already too old to throw a fit about it. We were legally married anyway. It's not like I could go crying to someone and accuse him of assaulting his own spouse. So, I just took it on the chin. I calmly told Nathan, "That was an accident. It can't happen again." But he clearly didn't take it seriously. A few days later, he tried to pull the same move again. I snapped at him. "Didn't you say I wasn't your type and that this marriage was just for show?" Nathan just shrugged. Totally shameless. Who cares about types? If it feels good, that's all that matters. Let's just enjoy the arrangement. Basically, he wanted us to be hookup buddies under the same roof. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As a beta, I've never been someone who's driven by desire. I couldn't understand how someone like Nathan, an alpha who seemed to think with the lower half of his body, could be so persistent. No matter how I turned him down, he kept coming after me. Eventually, he got his way again. I've always been someone who prefers to go with the flow and avoid unnecessary drama. And truth be told, after sleeping with him a few times, I started to enjoy it. It wasn't really a loss. Having someone warm in bed wasn't the worst thing. So, I half-reluctantly, half-willingly accepted him and moved into the master bedroom. We clicked physically first, and then gradually began to understand each other in other ways. We started spending more time together, getting closer day by day. About 6 months into the marriage, we really began to get to know each other. I'm a university professor specializing in archaeology. My home is full of important texts and artifacts, so I've never hired housekeepers. Usually, I only do cleaning on weekends, and on weekdays I just eat whatever's available on campus. Because of my irregular eating habits, my stomach is pretty sensitive. Nathan started making soups to improve my digestion. He even learned to cook all sorts of dishes I like. I was shocked. How did a spoiled rich kid like him know how to cook? He looked proud when he told me. When I was studying overseas, none of the housekeepers I hired could cook anything decent. So I learned myself. What? Impressed now? To keep things fun, Nathan would take me on little trips, out to sea, skiing, even chasing the northern lights. Though, let's be honest, those trips usually ended with us hooking up somewhere new. Still, he also made an effort to share my interests. He went to museums with me, watched mystery films, even tried pottery just because I liked it. Every morning, he'd go for a run, then come back and make breakfast before waking me up. Technically, we were just bedmates. But honestly, the way we lived didn't look any different from an ordinary married couple. Still, I never forgot the agreement between us. I reminded myself constantly not to fall for him. A few casual encounters were no big deal. But getting emotionally attached? That was dangerous. 03. After breakfast, Nathan and I headed to the racetrack. He used to love motorcycle racing and even had his own team. Once, he had a bad crash and broke his leg. I took time off work to care for him at home. 1 week in, he clung to my waist, whining, "Babe, I'm going stir crazy. I need you." I shot him a glare. Need your head. Lie down and behave. He pouted. What if you just got on top? No way. It took him 2 weeks to fully recover. After that, he disbanded his team and gave up racing altogether. Now and then, when he missed it, he dragged me along to watch a race instead. We took our seats in the VIP area. The bikes roared past on the track, whipping up gusts of wind. I never had much interest in extreme sports and kept yawning. Nathan, on the other hand, was holding my hand tightly, fully immersed in the action. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling absent-mindedly until a private message from my cousin lit up the screen. Bro, I found Connor. My pupils contracted sharply. I immediately perked up. I glanced at Nathan. He was completely focused on the race. I slowly pulled my hand away. He looked over. What's wrong? Bathroom. I stood up. He started to get up. 2. I'll come with. No need. I know where it is. You keep watching. The racers were about to enter the final lap, and everyone was holding their breath. Nathan gave in and sat back down. I quickly walked to a quiet corner and called my cousin. As soon as he picked up, I asked directly, "Where's Connor?" He blurted out, "That brat went off chasing some ridiculous dream of becoming a singer. Got scammed so bad he lost everything. Then he ended up performing in a country bar. A few days ago, my dad's people tracked him down. His dad and my dad personally went to get him. He should be back today." My heart skipped a beat. Today? Yeah. His family's embarrassed. So they didn't tell anyone. I'm only telling you on the down low. Don't let my dad find out. A wave of emotions washed over me. I had always known Connor would come back eventually. I just didn't expect it to be so sudden. My cousin kept rambling. That punk messed up your whole life. You, a lifelong bachelor, had to marry that spoiled rich alpha because of him. You better make him pay when he gets back. But I couldn't hear him anymore. His voice buzzed in my ears. I absent-mindedly said, "Thanks for telling me," and ended the call. The crowd was going wild. The race had ended, but my heart was sinking fast. Connor coming back meant it was time to honor our agreement. Hadn't I already prepared for this? Then why did it feel so suffocating now? I wandered back, dazed. As I rounded a corner, I suddenly heard soft sobbing. I stopped, peeking around the wall. There stood a tall alpha in a racing suit, face to face with a slim beta. The beta was trembling slightly, head bowed, shoulders shaking. I recognized them. The alpha was Kevin, a well-known racer. His boyfriend, a beta, had greeted us once when Nathan and I came to watch a race. They'd told us we were their role models, and they hoped to make it, too. Now, I heard Kevin speaking helplessly. My family was against us from the beginning. My dad told you, if you could have a baby, they might consider accepting us. But it's been 3 years. Nothing's happened. There's nothing I can do. The beta's voice cracked. You said, you loved me for me, that it didn't matter if we had kids or not. That was then. Things are different now. I knew it wasn't my place to eavesdrop any longer. I turned to leave, when suddenly, a sweet voice called out, "Babe." 04. He clung tightly to the alpha racer's arm and snapped at the beta, clearly irritated. Why are you still looking for Kevin? Don't you know how to end things gracefully? Or are you really waiting for me to be nasty? The beta stood there, stunned, staring at the omega. Kevin, is he? Kevin scratched his head awkwardly, and the omega proudly declared, I'm Kevin's fiancé. Our parents have already met. You'd better get a grip. Just look at yourself. A beta who can't even have children. How dare you dream of marrying an alpha? You trying to cut off someone's bloodline? The beta's face went pale, like he'd been struck by lightning. In disbelief, he asked Kevin, Kevin, is what he said true? Kevin murmured a barely audible, yeah. The beta stumbled back a few steps, covering his mouth as he walked away. Humiliated, Kevin watched him go with a conflicted look on his face, but didn't follow. The omega clung to his arm and started acting cute, warning Kevin not to rekindle any old feelings with that beta. Kevin could only keep trying to calm him down. Once they were gone, I stood there for a long time, frozen. What I had just seen was a mirror image of me, Nathan, and Connor. To outsiders, a relationship between an alpha and a beta was that disgraceful. Being a beta meant you'd end the family line. I gave a bitter smile, took off my glasses, and rubbed the bridge of my nose. After a deep breath to compose myself, I returned to the VIP seating with a calm expression. Nathan looked happy as he told me his favorite team had won the race. I smiled gently. That's great to hear. Nathan wrapped an arm around my shoulders. We still have some time. Want to check out the museum? I think there's a new exhibit this weekend. I shook my head. I'll pass. I'm a bit tired. I really was tired. Back in the day, I could pull all-nighters and still feel fine. But now, just a few nights in a row left me drained and listless. Time waits for no one. Deny it all you want. Age still catches up to you. All right then. After lunch, we'll head home. How about that private restaurant you like? Sure. Anything's fine. That little restaurant wasn't very big, but it was quiet and cozy. The owner, an elegant Omega, came out to serve us himself. Noticing his slightly rounded belly, I quickly said, "You should be resting. Don't worry about us. We're regulars." The owner gave a shy smile. "It's okay. This is my third time. I'm used to it. Enjoy your meal." As he walked away, I found myself watching his back. Deep in thought, Nathan placed a piece of poached fish on my plate. When I didn't touch it, he asked, "What's wrong?" I looked at him slowly. Nathan was 26, young and in his prime. As the eldest son in his family, there was no way they weren't hoping for an heir. I asked deliberately, "It's pretty easy for Omegas to get pregnant, right? I mean, it's natural for them?" Nathan leaned his head on his hand and gave me a cheeky wink. "Why? Getting jealous? I can go harder tonight if you want." I let out a short laugh. "Don't waste your energy. I'm just a beta." "So what? Even betas can get pregnant if things hit just right," he added with a grin. "Honestly, the way we've been going at it, if you were an Omega, we'd probably have 2 kids by now." I raised an eyebrow, half joking, half self-deprecating. Too bad I'm not. Technically, betas can conceive, but it's rare. And even if it happens, the child might not be an alpha. Just like Kevin's situation, miracles don't happen for everyone. Nathan didn't know what I was really thinking. He just nudged me. "All right, forget all that. Eat up. The fish will start smelling if it gets cold." But I couldn't taste a thing. In my heart, I had already made a decision. Nothing lasts forever. Not love. Not youth. This dream was over. It was time to wake up. That night, Nathan was more insatiable than usual, and I responded more passionately than I ever had. Just one last time, something to remember. 05. The next day, Nathan had plans to play golf with a business partner. He wanted me to go too, but I made an excuse to stay behind. I had already booked a moving company the night before. When the workers arrived, it took them just over an hour to pack and haul everything away. I took out the agreement from the safe. Nathan's signature and that bright red fingerprint erased any last trace of hesitation in me. Back when he signed it, he hadn't even blinked. So now, I had no reason to hesitate either. I picked up a pen, signed my name with a firm stroke, and added my own fingerprint. I left one copy of the agreement on the desk in Nathan's home office. Along with the platinum wedding ring, I slipped off my finger. Checking the time, I saw that Nathan wouldn't be back until the afternoon. I wondered what his reaction would be when he realized I was gone. Would he feel even a little regret? Or would he just be angry? I shook my head at my own wishful thinking. Nathan had always preferred sweet, soft Omegas. The only reason he accepted an older beta like me was because I was convenient, available, low maintenance. Why would I keep humiliating myself? I'll admit, I used to have unrealistic hopes about him. I thought maybe, just maybe, beyond the physical part, there was some real affection. But the truth is, I'm older than him. I'm a beta. Our marriage was born out of obligation. Now that Connor, the one he was meant to marry, was back, I had no business hanging around. I wasn't ready to see the two of them together. For now, I didn't want to hear anything about them. I had everything planned. I emailed my university dean, applying to use all my unused vacation time at once. At 3 p.m., Nathan texted me. Babe, are we eating at home tonight or going out? That word, babe, felt like a stab. Because soon, Connor would be the one he called that. I calmly replied, go out with your friends. No need to come home early. He responded, why? Won't you be bored all alone? I didn't reply. I switched to a new SIM card and texted my family with the new number. I told them I was going on a trip and not to look for me for a while. Then, I packed up and drove off alone. I planned to visit ancient villages that hadn't been included in conservation zones. It would be both academic and healing. After a full day of driving, I stopped at a roadside inn to rest. That night, my dad called. The first thing he said was, you went on a trip without telling Nathan? I replied, what's wrong with Nathan? He's looking all over for you. He's going crazy. Did you two have a fight? I rubbed my temples. Did you hear? Connor's back. Yeah, I think so. But what's that got to do with you and Nathan? I said seriously. Tell Nathan. Connor's back. And it's time to honor our agreement. He'll understand. What agreement? Just call him and talk this out directly. Dad, I've been driving all day. I'm exhausted. Let's talk later. Then I hung up and turned off my phone. The next day, I contacted one of my old college juniors, Charlie, also a beta. Charlie now ran his own private studio and had a flexible schedule. When he found out I was heading into the villages for field research, he immediately offered to come along. We met in a nearby town. Charlie had arranged for a local guide to help us navigate. I thought the guide would be some elderly villager, but to my surprise, it was a tall, handsome young alpha. Hi, just call me Jacob, he said with a bright, friendly smile. Extending a hand, I returned the smile politely. Nice to meet you. Looking forward to working together. Charlie explained. Jacob's been a guide here for years. With him, we'll avoid a lot of detours. Since everything was already arranged, I had no objections. The village was remote, only accessible on foot. Jacob led the way. Whenever we hit rough terrain, he'd turn back and offer me a hand. 06. Charlie teased him. Jacob, why are you helping him and ignoring me? Jacob's tanned face flushed slightly. He quickly reached a hand toward Charlie, who waved it off. I'm just messing with you. I'm always out and about like a wild kid, not as refined as our senior here. Just take care of him. When we arrived at the village, it felt like I'd opened the door to a whole new world. There was a sense of serenity and simplicity in the air. Many of the buildings were centuries old. The locals eyed us curiously, but Jacob spoke to them fluently in their dialect. Thanks to his help, the villagers quickly warmed up to us and even allowed us into their homes to look around. I was busy filming and taking pictures. There was no signal in the village, and my phone stayed silent for most of the day. In the afternoon, we returned to town for dinner. I hadn't had a drop of water or a bite to eat since morning, but even when the table was filled with local specialties, I didn't have much of an appetite. Jacob asked, is the food not to your taste? I shook my head, not wanting to admit the truth. Not that. I think I'm just a little sensitive to the environment here. My stomach's been acting up. I'd felt bloated and a bit nauseous for the past 2 days. Still, I forced myself to sip some soup and take a few bites. Halfway through the meal, my phone rang. The caller ID showed it was from Heischer. Someone from home. I picked it up. Hello. Where the hell have you been? Your phone's been off this whole time. Nathan's voice came through, laced with frustration and worry. I stepped aside with the phone. Oh, no signal here. What's wrong? I should be asking you that. What are you doing suddenly running off on a trip? If you wanted to travel, you could have told me. I would have taken time off to go with you. He spoke so fast it was hard to get a word in. I started to wonder if he'd completely forgotten the situation. Calmly, I replied, Mr. Lee, my nephew Connor has returned. As per our agreement, our marriage ends here. I've already asked my lawyer to start the paperwork. Once I'm back, we can finalize the divorce. There was a few seconds of silence. Then Nathan exploded. What the hell are you saying? You want a divorce? You seriously want to leave me? Say that again. I held the phone a little away from my ear, rubbing my temple. Why was he reacting like this? After his shouting, I spoke again. Mr. Lee, this was your agreement. You drafted it. You were the first to sign it. We clearly stated that if Connor returned, we'd divorce. Don't tell me you've forgotten. Nathan stammered. With a businesslike tone. I said, as for the compensation you promised in the contract, please make arrangements soon. I have things to take care of. Let's end this here. I hung up. Nathan called again. I answered with irritation. What now? He sounded different this time, soft, almost pleading. Babe, did I do something wrong? Did I upset you? Babe. I sighed, holding back my impatience. You didn't do anything. I'm not mad. I'm just holding up my end of the deal. And stop calling me that. Connor is the one who. Just as I was speaking, Charlie came running up. Senior, do you want to go? He paused mid-sentence when he saw I was on the phone and quickly shut his mouth. Nathan heard Charlie's voice, and he snapped again. Who are you with? Who's that guy? My junior from college, I started to say, then realized I owed him no explanation. My voice cooled. That's my private business. It has nothing to do with you. Mr. Lee. Hunter. It had been a long time since he called me by name like that. His voice practically seethed. If you're cheating on me, I swear, don't think I'll just sit back and let it happen. I couldn't argue with someone this irrational. I ended the call again and ignored the next ones that followed. 07. That afternoon, we headed to another village. I hadn't eaten much at lunch, and after walking for a while, I felt dizzy, nauseated, and lightheaded. I didn't want Charlie or the others to worry, so I kept it to myself. By the time we got back to the hotel, I was completely wiped out. I collapsed onto the bed and passed out. Not even a thunderstorm could have woken me. I don't know how long I slept before I was jolted awake by an aggressive banging on the door. Eyes half open, still in a daze. I reached for my phone on the pillow. It was already 10 a.m. Crap, I'd overslept. My heart jumped. The knocking hadn't stopped, and I heard Charlie's anxious voice outside. Senior, are you okay? Senior. I called out groggily, I'm coming, and slipped on my slippers. But as soon as I stood up, the room spun around me. I had to grab onto the nightstand to keep from falling. Low blood sugar? I wondered. I took a few deep breaths, got my bearings, put on my glasses, and opened the door. I'm sorry. Before I could finish, I saw Nathan standing behind Charlie, face dark as a storm cloud. My heart dropped. What the hell? Why was he here? His hair was a mess, eyes bloodshot, and his stubble hadn't been shaved. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I inhaled sharply, just about to speak, when Nathan shoved past Charlie, stormed into the room, and slammed the door shut behind him. The lock clicked automatically. Outside, Charlie shouted, Senior, I explained everything to your husband. We're just friends. Please calm him down. Inside the room, no one spoke. Nathan stared at me like a predator locking onto prey. I had nothing to be guilty about, but his stare still made my chest feel tight. I turned away, walked over to the table, and calmly poured myself some water. What brings you here, Mr. Lee? I asked. Nathan's words were forced through clenched teeth. You're coming home with me. I took a few sips of warm water and gently set the cup down. I said everything I needed to say yesterday on the phone. He strode forward in 2 steps, grabbed my shoulders, and spun me to face him. That contract, screw it. That was 2 years ago. I tried to shrug off his hands, but he held on tight. I gave a bitter smile. You're a businessman. You should respect contracts. Forget the damn contract. He barked. You're not leaving me. You married me. You're mine. Now and always. That he came all this way showed me he did care. But that still wasn't enough. I stood firm. Don't talk about always like it means something. If you can throw out a promise from 2 years ago, you'll change again in another few years. I won't. I've never cared for anyone else. Only you. I'm not changing. His eyes burned with intensity. His voice filled with urgency. I, on the other hand, was calm. Mr. Lee. I'm 34, not some naive kid. I've seen too many examples. In the end, marriage isn't held together by love, it's held together by conscience. Nathan looked genuinely shocked. Are you saying I don't have a conscience? I'm not. I finally brushed his hand off my shoulder and said with quiet strength, but I'm a beta who's not likely to conceive. Even if you're not marrying Connor now, there'll be plenty of omegas for you to choose from. Our elders had you marry me as a placeholder, not as a long-term plan. From the start, this marriage was a mistake. Nathan's voice rose. It wasn't a mistake. Stop with the pregnancy talk. I only want you. No one else. I thought of what I saw at the racing club. Kevin had said the same thing once, but reality wore him down. I steeled myself. People change. Better to end it now and walk away with some dignity than drag it out and make things worse. Nathan saw I wasn't budging. He clenched his fists and growled through gritted teeth. So that's it. You've made up your mind to leave me? I'm just doing what you planned from the beginning. Before I could finish, Nathan suddenly swept me up in his arms. The world tilted. He hoisted me over his shoulder like I weighed nothing. 08. What are you doing? Put me down. I stretched my arms and pressed against his broad back, trying to struggle. But Nathan held me in place effortlessly with one hand. If you won't walk on your own, I'll just carry you back, he said firmly, not giving me a chance to argue. Then opened the door. Ignoring Charlie's stunned expression, Nathan lifted his foot and walked out. Charlie stammered. Senior. I called out for help. Charlie, help me. Charlie quickly ran to Nathan and tried to stop him. Calm down. Okay, let's talk about this. Nathan, full of imposing dominance, said coldly, this is between us. Outsiders shouldn't get involved. Charlie froze, unsure what to do. Nathan walked around him and kept going. I struggled so much my glasses fell off. I pounded on Nathan's back and shouted, put me down. You can't force me. Let go of me right now. Just as Nathan was about to go down the stairs, a dark figure darted past. Bang! The person punched Nathan right in the face. Nathan staggered and finally let go of me. I barely landed on my feet when Nathan yanked me behind him. The two men instantly began to throw punches. That's when I saw clearly it was Jacob. Nathan, stop it. Charlie ran over to help, but they were both too riled up to listen. Charlie and I were no match for either of them physically. Two tall and muscular alphas were brawling right in the hallway. The noise quickly drew hotel staff over. What's going on? Stop fighting. Break it up. With great effort, everyone managed to pull them apart. I grabbed Nathan by the waist and dragged him back, while Charlie helped push Jacob away. Nathan pulled me into his arms and growled through clenched teeth. Don't tell me this one's another junior of yours? Jacob, out of breath, glared at him from across the hallway. I lowered my voice and said, he's a local guide. Can you stop making a scene? As if to assert dominance, Nathan tightened his grip around me and threw Jacob a cold, warning glance. Someone asked, should we call the police? Charlie rushed to explain. No need. We all know each other. It's just a misunderstanding. Sorry for the trouble. I quickly apologized too. In the end, Jacob was persuaded to leave by Charlie, and I dragged Nathan back into our room. After all that chaos, I'd finally bought myself some breathing room. Nathan had bruises and cuts all over his face. I couldn't just leave him like that, so I borrowed a first aid kit from the staff. He sat on the edge of the bed while I bent over to disinfect his wounds with iodine on a cotton swab. Nathan suddenly wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me onto his lap. I straddled him and snapped. Can you not mess around right now? He said with no shame. This way's easier. You don't have to bend over so much. As he spoke, he started planting kisses on my neck. I pinched his ear and yanked him away. Get off. I haven't finished treating your wounds. Then he suddenly shifted his hips under me. Catching me off guard, I gasped, instantly realizing what had changed in his body. I was both annoyed and amused. What are you doing? You're so hot when you scold me, he said, brushing my bangs aside affectionately. I swatted his hand away. Don't call me that. I'm calling you honey. You're my husband. So that's what I'll call you. Honey. 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 He repeated it over and over again, like he was trying to drive me up the wall. I dared not provoke him further. What if he lost it and threw me over his shoulder again? So I shut my mouth and stayed quiet. After I finished applying the medicine, Nathan still wouldn't let me off his lap. He hugged me tightly and buried his face in my chest, nuzzling like a clingy kid. Honey, don't leave me. I really can't live without you. This was his usual tactic. First, he'd come on strong and scare me into submission. Then he'd flip to playing the victim, acting all pitiful. That mix of force and softness, it always made me back down. That's exactly how he had me wrapped around his finger before. But not this time. I quickly changed the subject. Did you see Connor? Nathan lifted his head, his eyes full of frustration. Why are you bringing him up? Why would I want to see him? 09. Connor's a real stunner. Though, maybe he's more your type. Before I could finish, Nathan crushed his lips against mine, kissing me hard and furious, like he was venting all his anger. He grabbed the back of my head and refused to let me move, kissing me so intensely my lips went numb and swollen. I couldn't even breathe until he finally pulled back. Our noses touched, his breath ragged as he spoke. Don't you dare say stuff like that again. You're my one and only. I don't care how pretty he is, it means nothing to me. I was dizzy from the kiss, but still managed to murmur. Only an Omega can give you a strong air. Nathan suddenly flipped me onto the bed and pinned me down. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his lean, muscular torso. His face was still bruised, but that wild look in his eyes, hovering above me, left me completely defenseless. I shook my head and begged. Don't, he murmured. You always say things that make me mad, so I have to shut you up. After that, I didn't get another chance to speak. The rest of the day passed in a blur. The next morning, Nathan refused to leave. He stuck to me like glue, so I had no choice but to bring him along on my archaeological trip. I sighed helplessly and told Charlie. Charlie, I'm sorry, mister. Lee insisted on coming along. Charlie nervously glanced at Nathan behind me and forced a smile. It's fine. The more the merrier. Someone extra to help keep things safe. A bit later, Jacob joined us, and the moment the two alphas met, tension filled the air. Even though I couldn't smell their pheromones, I could feel the shift immediately. They were challenging each other, subtly but unmistakably. I leaned close to Nathan and whispered, Don't cause trouble, or you're not coming next time. Nathan didn't reply. Instead, he suddenly leaned in and gave me a quick kiss right on the lips, in front of everyone. Charlie and Jacob both froze, eyes wide, flustered and embarrassed. I jumped away from Nathan. Charlie tried to ease the awkwardness. You two really are a sweet couple. So loving, makes us all jealous. Nathan looked smug as hell. I just wanted to crawl into a hole. Today's destination was even more remote than the previous village. Reportedly, no one lived there anymore. As I walked, I started to feel dizzy and lightheaded again, gasping for air. When Nathan hadn't been with us before, I just gritted my teeth through it. Even when Charlie asked, I'd pretend I was fine. But today, Nathan noticed my pale face and asked what was wrong. I admitted it right away. I feel dizzy and kind of nauseous. Nathan didn't hesitate. He helped me to a shaded spot under a tree and gave me water, fanning me gently. With someone I trusted by my side, I finally let myself stop pretending. Still, I didn't want to slow everyone down. I said to Charlie apologetically, Charlie, sorry. Why don't you two go ahead? I'll rest a bit and catch up. Charlie nodded and left with Jacob. As soon as they were out of sight, Nathan scooped me up and settled me on his lap. You look terrible. If you're not feeling well, we should just head back. I glanced at him. It's your fault I didn't sleep last night. Nathan grinned shamelessly. I starved for 3 days. I had to make up for it. Can you think about anything else besides that? My mind's full of you. No room for anything else. Nathan took my hand and placed it against his chest, looking at me with such intensity. I love you so much I'm losing my mind. Why don't you believe me? I rolled my eyes, my face heating up. I pulled my hand away. Please. You only like me because I cooperate in bed. Otherwise, why would you be into an older beta like me? Nathan scowled. Sure, you're good in bed, but I liked you way before that. That first time, I did it on purpose. I narrowed my eyes suspiciously. What do you mean? On purpose? 10. Nathan hugged me tightly and admitted. I've wanted to be with you for a long time, but you always avoided me, didn't come home at night. I had no choice. Remember when we went to Zhongcheng for my grandfather's birthday banquet? That night I was in my rut. Actually, I took my medicine early because I knew you're soft-hearted. Seeing me suffer, you wouldn't just stand by. Hearing this made me furious. I twisted his ear in anger. So you've been scheming all along? Who made you so tempting? Nathan said shamelessly. No pheromones. Yet you're irresistible, slim waist. Perky ass. Pure yet alluring smile. Just hearing you talk makes me react. You're a demon born to seduce me. You. I didn't know whether to laugh or be mad. Nathan rubbed his hands on my waist. Whining. Come on. Honey. Let's make up? I admit I was mean before. I shouldn't have looked down on you. Please don't leave me. I forced myself to stay clear-headed. That's a different matter. Alpha and beta relationships don't usually end well. Nathan cut me off. To put it bluntly, you just lack security. How about this, when we go back? I'll transfer all my shares to you. If I ever betray you, I'll be left with nothing. I began to hesitate. Don't joke about that. That's your family's business. Aren't they all mine because of you? As we spoke, suddenly the ground shook violently. Then, a rain of rocks and debris poured down. I looked up, on the nearby slope. A landslide of stones and dust was rushing down. Before I could react, Nathan scooped me up and started running at full speed. The mudslide roared behind us like a wild beast chasing, the dust stinging my eyes. Nathan suddenly lunged forward. I felt dizzy. Everything went black. Drip, drip. Liquid fell on my face. I closed my eyes tight and instinctively touched it. It was warm. Sticky. Blood. I suddenly opened my eyes. Nathan was above me, crushed by stones and dirt, but still struggling to prop himself up with his arms to shelter me. Blood trickled down his face. He clenched his eyes shut, trembling with exhaustion. He gritted his teeth and trembled. Get out quickly. I painfully rolled over and crawled out. I emerged from the rubble and turned back to save Nathan. Suddenly, with a crashing sound, the spot Nathan had been holding up collapsed. Nathan! I screamed at the top of my lungs. Ignoring everything, I knelt and dug with my bare hands. From a distance, I heard Charlie and Jacob shouting. I cried out, He's buried underneath. Hurry. They rushed over and helped me dig. My fingertips were scraped raw by the rubble. I didn't even notice. Nathan couldn't die, not like this. That was all I could think. Soon, Nathan's upper body appeared, but he showed no signs of consciousness. Together, we pulled him out and laid him on the grass nearby. He was unconscious from suffocation. Jacob pressed his ear to Nathan's chest to listen for a heartbeat. Jacob's face changed drastically. This is bad. His heart stopped. My mind went blank. I almost fainted. 11. Charlie was sweating profusely, pulling out his phone to call for help. But the signal in the mountains was terrible, so he had to raise the phone and move around looking for reception. I slumped beside Nathan. If something happened to him, I didn't want to live either. That thought overwhelmed me. No, I had to hold on. I took several deep breaths, forcing myself to calm down. I remembered the first aid I learned at school. If the heart stops, you do CPR. I placed my hands one over the other, fingers interlaced, elbows locked, and used my waist to drive my arms down, pressing vertically on the middle lower part of his sternum. Nathan's chest heaved violently under the pressure. Then, I opened his airway, cleared dust and dirt from his mouth and nose, pinched his nose, and gave mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. After 2 rounds of artificial breaths, I resumed chest compressions. My arms ached and tingled, but I couldn't stop. 3 minutes later, Nathan coughed a few times and began breathing on his own. Jacob and Charlie cheered loudly. He's responding. We saved him. My tense nerves instantly relaxed. Suddenly, I felt dizzy. Thud. I collapsed and lost consciousness completely. When I woke up again, it was 5 hours later. I was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to N4. Nathan sat beside me, holding my hand, his head wrapped in gauze. Weakly, I asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Had a full checkup. Just some scrapes on my head. Nothing serious." Nathan gently stroked my forehead. No wonder he was such a gifted alpha. He recovered so fast. I thought with envy. But all of this happened because of me. He could have been sitting comfortably in his office. Nathan murmured, "Rest well. No more wandering off. Seriously, you're pregnant and still causing trouble." I had been daydreaming, but the word pregnant hit me like a thunderbolt. I stared at him in disbelief. "What baby?" Nathan placed his other hand on my belly, frowning. "Our baby. The doctor confirmed it. 5 weeks along. You've been running around with a baby inside you. The doctor says it's lucky this one's strong. But you need to be careful." This felt so surreal. I thought he was joking. "Are you serious? I'm pregnant? At my age? And as a beta? How could I believe that?" Nathan grinned smugly. "The ultrasound showed the gestational sac. What else could it be? Do you think I'm stupid? Sleeping with you every day wasn't for nothing." He was still so full of himself, I stopped listening. I swore I never even dreamed I'd get pregnant with Nathan's child. So that explains why I'd had no appetite, been so sleepy, and dizzy recently. I'd thought it was just old age catching up. Nathan kissed the back of my hand, pretending to be fierce. "You think you can run away with a bun in the oven? I'll chase you to the ends of the earth and bring you back." My eyes stung. The memory of Nathan unconscious earlier was still vivid. I almost lost him forever. Now that he was safe, and fate had blessed me with such a miracle. With all this luck, how could I not be grateful? Tears filled my eyes as I squeezed his hand back. "I'm not running anymore. I'm staying right here. Even without the baby, I wouldn't leave Nathan again. In that moment of crisis, when he risked his life to save me, I would never doubt his love. Even if passion fades someday, and everything becomes ordinary, I'd have the courage to face it."